Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order and get everybody to rise, and Suzanne's going to read us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our good news portion, we're going to move down to the scheduled reports on the sculpture garden. So we have some good news there to report. And so that will make our first public comment on agenda items only. And if you would like to comment on the agenda items, please direct your comments to the board. And you have 3 minutes to speak.
That's cool. Let me get the timer ready. Just real quick before I get going, I want to make sure I understand the rules. On the 25th of February, I was told I couldn't look to the side and I couldn't use anybody's name, specifically nobody on the board or the superintendent.
Bill, on agenda items only.
Yep, I'm on an agenda item. Tecumseh one Tecumseh. I'd like to address the one Tecumseh Advisory Committee selection process that occurred. Specifically, I'd like to address the March 11th Board of Education meeting. A calumny has been committed against one of our TPS parents, one so spurious and utterly without foundation that I'm not even going to address it directly. What should be of interest to everyone, however, is the way in which this act of public defamation against one of our parents was allowed to occur. When one Tecumseh advisory committees were originally proposed, many of us in opposition to the board made the assumption that the Board of Education would only select people who were known to support their own views. Imagine then our collective surprise when the proposed committee assignments were announced. Of course, we noted that all of the committees were packed with those who support the Board of Education's views. However, we were all shocked to see a well-respected opposition figure and fierce supporter of the transformational changes as a member of the HR and Policy Committee. I might even have suggested to friends and acquaintances that a mistaken judgment about the Board of Education's complete lack of moral character had been made. I just got to eat it, I guess. Okay. This Board of Education allowed and participated in the public defamation of one of our parents. We aren't talking about a public figure being attacked. This parent wasn't running for public office. This parent wasn't being selected for a decision-making position in the public schools. Here is what we all saw in part. A man attacking a woman. A man lecturing a woman about rape and rape culture. A man attacking a woman for defending herself from 2 years of vicious and ugly attacks. A man attacking a woman for how she talks about rape and sexual assault. A man attacking a woman for making comments about rape in the context of a rapist president nominating a rapist Supreme Court nominee. A man attacking a woman who had recently had a TPS parent tell her that her daughter wasn't pretty enough to be raped. A man attacking a woman for comments made at the height of the Me Too movement. As it has been represented to me that the defamer had a lengthy conversation with our no longer interim superintendent prior to the beginning of the March 11th meeting, where the materials that were presented and shared to the board were examined, it should be noted that the parent defamed was already removed from consideration from the proposed advisory HR and policy committee prior to the beginning of the March 11 meeting. We could all see that her name had been removed from the slides and printed materials prepared well prior to the March 11th meeting time.
Bill, your time is
I
up.
urge everyone to carefully review the video from the March 11th meeting and see which Board of Education members reviewed the defaming handout materials.
You're in violation of these board meeting rules. Please sit down.
That what you just did? That's what you should have done last time.
Okay, we've got a couple revisions to the board. Yep, someone else.
Wait. Sorry, come back. Good evening. I'm Melanie Noack. I am the principal of the East Team Center. Standing with me here today is Deidre Gamble, principal of the West Team Center. Carl Lewandowski, co-principal at Tecumseh Learning Center. Jacob Anastasov, principal at the 910 in the high school. And Megan Wade, former principal at the South Early Learning Center.
You know what, the microphone is not against to be on, so I think it's important.
You gotta eat it.
That everybody.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Not really.
Do we have an IT guy here? Who's our?
No.
Wait. Better start our time.
Yeah, start time.
Oh, we know. Do it if their time hasn't started yet.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You should just give me a paper. Do a test.
Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
All right, can I start over, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, I'm Melanie Noack. I'm principal of the East Team Center. Here with me today, Deidre Gamble, principal at the West Team Center, Carl Lewandowski, co-principal at the Tecumseh Learning Center, Megan Wade, former principal of the South Early Learning Center, and Jacob Anastasov, the principal of the 910 in the high school. We stand before you today as TPS administrators to address the consent agenda item regarding approving the superintendent's contract. Before speaking, we would like to ask the board president to allow us extended time to deliver our message if we go beyond 3 minutes. Would that be okay, sir?
It depends what you're going to be talking about.
No,
so.
Hannah.
Okay, so we'll just rotate if you don't mind. Okay.
No.
So we are here for one common purpose, the greater good of our organization and the teachers, most importantly the students and the family within it. Many of us standing here have been dedicated to this district, Tecumseh Public Schools, and different leaders of the organization for several years. We feel compelled to preserve TPS in our community so that we can begin to move forward and heal. We would like to highlight the following complaints and concerns regarding the superintendent, including several that have been recently brought to the attention of board members. The creation of a hostile work environment due to character assassinations against principals, specifically allegations of inappropriate sexual behavior between a principal and a parent, accusations that the school board is concerned with a principal's mental health stability, and the questioning of a principal's ability to perform job duties because she is a single parent. Intentionally creating fear of working with the school board by telling administrators that the school board members don't like us and are trying to fire us and are on a rampage to get us. Number 2, harassment and intimidation. Sorry, excuse me. I apologize. Including threats against an administrator's spouse's employment and character, telling an administrator that he drives by their house every day, which elicit fear in the administrator, and attempting to divide leadership by picking and choosing who attends meetings in an effort to discredit their input. And number 3, specific threats told directly to administrators such as, if you don't take this job, you will be non-removed. If anyone crosses me, I will burn them to the ground. Yep. The stage has been set to tarnish the reputation of the schools by exaggerating events, including racism, special education, and the violence in the schools in an attempt to discredit administrators in the schools and tarnish the reputation of Tecumseh Public Schools. In light of the complaints presented here today, we as administrators take a vote of no confidence against the superintendent and would request that the board have an independent third party investigate these allegations. Based on what we are sharing today,
All of us are in fear of our job security and potential retaliation. However, teachers have expressed their own job fears and uncertainty as to the future of the district. As leaders in this district, we will not stand by or allow intimidation to distract us from our greater purpose of educating our students. We remain committed to our professional obligation of serving our families and this community, and again, more importantly, our students. Thank you for your time.
President Simpson, just to bring some clarity to those comments, I had administrators approach me as the assistant superintendent. They shared their complaints with me. I collaborated with Officer Rogers, and Officer Rogers determined that these were not legal issues, but they were more work law type of concerns, labor law types of concerns. We contacted the board, and we had a meeting with the board members. So that was the process that this went through. My concern, not just for the people, my concern is also for the position our school district is in from a liability standpoint and any pending lawsuits that will be forthcoming. So that's the process that we went through.
Rochelle Johnson. I live in the community. I have a son who is at the Easting Center, and I work at the Westing Center. Commenting on superintendent contract. I've never, ever witnessed something like that. Nobody in this room has. I can guarantee it. You better be listening to those people. He works for you, remember? And he does not put on a good face for you.
All right, revisions and approval of agenda. There's a couple things we need to add here. We need to add a closed session for to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute, attorney-client privilege. We also need to add on there's a FOI appeal that we need to address, Freedom of Information Act appeal, and we also need to add admin and contracts and reassignments to the agenda. All right, so our first scheduled report tonight, I need a motion to add this in, sorry.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call. Abbott.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, our first scheduled report tonight is the sculpture garden at the high school. That's our good news tonight.
We had a slide presentation, but my laptop wasn't working. Sorry.
Okay.
Can we switch to the people that are right next to
Yep,
us?
sure can. Yep. Sources of strength.
Hi, I'm Dr. Morgan. I'm a counselor at Tecumseh High School, and a few other members from our Sources of Strength group. It's probably best to describe through our students' video, so I'm going to show that first, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
Our social media, our culture, and our voice.
This gives life to our efforts.
We are sources of strength.
So we do have a quick PowerPoint too on our program. But basically, we started in 2016. And I'm sorry, this is Barb Randolph and Janet Wagner. And we have a couple more of our leaders here. And management. Oh, I'm sorry. And management. And Griff Mills is also one of the leaders. So we have, I think, 12 leaders. We have over 100 students that are involved in this program. But it kind of started in 2016 when, I'm going to actually let Barb tell this part. Okay.
In 2016, we recognized the need for suicide prevention in our schools. On April 10th of 2016, my youngest daughter attempted suicide, and it definitely changed her life. One of the things that, as we were processing what happened, our new normal, one of the things that my daughter said is she wanted to use her story to help others. We didn't really know what we were going to do at that point, but it quickly became apparent what we needed to do. In June, 1 week after graduation, one of her classmates died from suicide. In August of that same year, my niece attempted. It was at that point that I reached out to Tecumseh schools and just shared a little bit about what had happened. Not sure if they were aware of what was going on or not. And it was just shocking to me that in a short period of time, 3 families had been affected by this. And I knew that we weren't talking about it, and I hadn't heard any others talking about it either. So I knew that something needed to be done, and this is what we did. We reached out. This is a great place to reach the students. And within that first meeting, we began working on the program. Jen and I met monthly. We didn't really know which direction we were going to take, and we kind of regrouped a little bit because the statistics were overwhelming that in Lenawee County, our rates of suicide and attempts for our young people is higher than the national average. So this is something that was very important and very needed. And Jen has been amazing. And this program has become so much more than I ever thought it would be. And we worked on creating a suicide prevention program for our staff, training protocols, because we were aware of the number of students that needed this was so high, and we didn't want to be overwhelmed with students needing help and not knowing what to direct them to. So we started with the staff training program. We introduced our Why You Matter program, which incorporated the program from Chelsea High School. And if you've been in the halls of Tecumseh High School, lining our over 1,000 reasons why you matter. So it's very important, this program that we've introduced to our students. We continue to grow and expand on this every year. We do different events. We do different research into different programs we can add to this. Jen found the Sources of Strength program, which we've added this year. We love that it adds a positive element of hope, help, strengths. The students need this. The staff working with the program needs this. And we've realized what are things that we can reach toward when we're struggling. So this is just one of the new programs that we've incorporated this year with the positive, help-based
Oh, we do want to thank Lenawee Care. So they have generously funded us with a grant that actually got brought to us through Community Learning Connection. So they're a big partner and have allowed us to do the Sources of Strength program.
There are over 100 staff and students involved in this program. We have students and staff from Tecumseh High School and both East and West STEAM centers that are involved in this. In November, we had a trainer from the Sources of Strength program come to our school. The staff met with him in the morning and the afternoon. We added the students to it. And we had an all-day training where we learned about the peer-adult partnership. One of the great things with this program is it's peer-based because it involves so many students and then they involve their students and it just reaches out to many more students than an adult-based learning program would. And they really get involved and the students have fantastic ideas and run with. Positive social learning because it's so much easier to talk about your hopes, helps, and strengths than, you know, suicide because nobody likes to talk about it. But when you talk about the positives of it, it's easier and more students will reach out and get help. The safe message, the evidence, research findings, the call to action. They have some great campaigns in this program that we've been introducing.
So the Sources of Strength approach is really what they describe to us as an upstream approach. So instead of waiting till kids are in crisis and reacting to that crisis and what can we do to help get them through that, really working on the upstream approach where how can we build students' strengths so that when they go through a difficult time, they know where to turn and where to get help.
Okay, so I do this?
Or no? We have a couple of student helpers. You just have to read it.
So, sources of strength,
Speak up.
A little louder.
to students attending Tecumseh High School. We want to make this a positive impact to everybody. If a student does not feel comfortable going to an adult, we are here to help them. Sorry, I was sorry. Sorry. Okay, we're doing this because being a teenager can be stressful and students can feel hopeless, lost, and need other students to talk to. Students who don't have enough sources of strength in their lives may develop unhealthy habits and negative feelings. We're here to help provide a positive view, outlook, and atmosphere in our school. Sorry. The mission of Sources of Strength is to prevent suicide, depression, and mental illness by increasing help-seeking behaviors and by promoting connections between peers and caring adults.
So we have family support, positive friends, mentors, healthy activities, generosity, medical access, and mental health.
To better reach and spread messages to the students, we have branched out into different groups focused on different points. So we have all school activities, art and wall displays, presentations, and social media and video production.
Sorry, I talked about it. So we have done a couple events actually at our STEAM center. We had a suicide and self-harm awareness walk. Many of those students participated. It was a really fun day. And again, we're just really trying to spread that positive and hope, help, and strength message. And then this, actually last week was our mentor week, where students wrote their favorite mentor at the high school, a note of how they've helped them and helped guide them through their high school years. And then also we had two of our staff members share some very personal stories. They were very brave, and one talked about their thoughts of suicide and attempted suicide, and another staff member shared her story of being sexually abused at the time. So that was really powerful experience. That's our wall display with all of our shamrocks for our teachers and all. And we asked kids as they walked in the building we had big little paintings, and they had to say what their main source of strength is. So as you can see, it's really across the board. We really want to help develop all of those for our students. Oh, there's our two mentors that spoke. Thank you.
We're here to give an update on the sculpture garden and to talk about the progress that we've had this year, and also to ask for approval to accept the gift of a sculpture. I'm Christina Orbide, this is Jackie Whiteley and Ron Frenzen, and we are the committee sort of planning this sculpture garden. It's just an update. It started around 6 years ago when my students were asking to use a space on the east of the art department, and there was nothing there but grass, and the kids were wanting to plan really exciting things: performance space, art space, outdoor learning space. They had all kinds of wild plans. So I called in the architect who designed the building and a landscape architect. So this was the plan that they eventually came up with. If you could go to the next slide. So this was the beginning. This was the class, the drawing and painting class that I had. And we worked with the landscape architect to come up with plans to use that space in a better way. It was just empty space, nothing was there. So if you can go to the next slide. So he worked with them, they came up with drawings, they discussed, they had critiques, and they finalized with one drawing that we have actually started on that property, that land. Go to the next one. So there they are in the art room discussing the plans. Next, please. This was the groundbreaking last fall, starting the construction. Next, please. This was last spring when my students built peace poles and put them out in that space to spread the message of peace. That was a fun project that I did with Community Arts at Tecumseh. Next. This is a group of students drawing the Tom Rudd sculpture that we have out there currently. Okay, this is when the bulldozers moved in. Next. And pouring concrete. This is when the trees arrived. And that's the current sculpture. So this sculpture was created by Tom Rudd with the high school students, I believe. Is that right? No?
It was with
it was before my time.
the jobs program at Avery at the time.
Okay. And you probably read the article, the lovely article in the Herald about Tom Rudd. Really wonderful artist, and he was so nice to give us this sculpture. So one of his best friends, Ken Thompson, would like to give us a sculpture for the sculpture garden. That's the next slide. So this is the sculpture that Ken Thompson is giving us as a gift. And so we're asking the board to approve this gift. And then after this slide, I'm going to have Jackie talk about the future of the garden. She's got some really great plans.
So, as you can see on this list out here, not only is the sculpture garden going to be for the art students at Tecumseh, we're hoping that it will be open up to the community as well as science classes, the culinary classes, drama, having music performances on the stage all year round. We have dreams of possible midwinter beautiful scenes out there. So it's not just for us, it's for everybody. But we also want the students in the art room to be part of planning for this garden. So it was originally made for them. So, next slide. So I took the students out recently and we went to talk about the garden. And I'm having my ceramics classes here create the first official student sculpture to go in the garden. But I didn't want it to be just about me and planning something, so I want them to be fully part of the process. And not only that, I have a wonderful student, as you go to the next slide, named Maria Kinzer, who's actually an AP art student who's going to be directing the whole sculpture building. So she's coming up with the plans and the ideas. We're hoping to have some input from other sculptors come in and help out with the ideas, and hopefully Mr. Frenzen. And we're going to put it together, maybe collaborate with the woodshop class as well. And all of the students will be putting this project together. So we're in the beginning stages of it. We're hoping that in the spring, when you guys attend the art show, you'll get to see a wonderful piece created and collaborated together with students, all by the students. So, is there some? for having us.
Now, my spring coaches up here, please. So in the past, I guess, the athletics is kind of introduce our spring coaches to you guys, so you can meet them, put a face to the name. So those are our spring coaches. Some aren't here, they're at the bench, practices, so we'll go through them. Thomas Goodman is our girls soccer coach. Thomas Goodman. He's also a sports coordinator at Siena Heights, so he's trying to start. AJ Barrett, boys golf coach. Lindsay Chase, girls lacrosse.
Watch your step. Watch your step.
Carrie Schmidt, girls tennis. Tom Bollinger, baseball. Wes Harden, boys and girls track. Then Steve Ayers out here, that's lacrosse coach.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, facilities update, Tim Brown.
Good evening. So basically since starting in the first of the year in January, I've kind of been in a data collection mode, trying to figure out just where everything is at as far as condition of all the buildings, all the assets throughout the district. I've quite a list putting together currently, a 10-year project for every building in the district. It's not quite completed. I would like to present that at the next board meeting with your commission. But currently I do want to report on the HVAC systems. That is by far our biggest challenge, our biggest cost, and probably the systems that are in the worst condition throughout our district. So
What is it?
the HVAC systems, the heating and cooling systems. So basically what I came up with this slide, the crosscut of the tree pretty much is a representation of our schools. On the outside, it looks pretty good. I mean, they look a little dated, but the buildings themselves are intact. I mean, they're in good condition. But the insides were falling apart. It's in a really rough shape. Some of the tubing, the piping, the HVAC system, the boilers, whether it's what are called univents, which are, you see it referred to a few times in here. They're individual units within the classrooms. Those are the univents, and then the rooftop units. Several of them are in very poor condition, as well as the boilers themselves. One of the problems we've run into is most of our systems were replaced around the same time period. So we're running into the cycle of everything needs to be replaced at pretty much the same time again. So part of that 10-year plan that I'm putting together is taking the worst systems, replacing those up front, and then gradually working our way to expand that and to stretch it out into a longer time period as opposed to getting hit all at once with all the expenses. So currently, to date, for this fiscal year, we spent $89,000, a little over $89,000 on HVAC repairs. There's currently a little over $33,000 still available for HVAC funds, so that's going to be pretty close, honestly. And part of that is I have listed what we currently have issues with. There's 15 rooftop units that are currently in need of repair. We've had our boiler inspections, our CSD1 inspections, and almost every boiler that they inspected has issues. The contractor is making a list of repairs and estimates for those. We've also replaced 3 circulation pumps, which I don't know how familiar you are with. It's basically what pumps the hot water or steam throughout the building. So 3 different ones have been replaced since I've started. Several exhaust fans, when I walked the roofs, were not operational. It's either a belt, hopefully it's as simple as a belt, or the motor has failed, or there's an electrical issue. Again, there's the univents. 7 univents and 1 reheat unit in February alone leaked. So the pipes either burst or cracked or frozen burst. The univent I mentioned in particular because that one happened to be an actuator that had failed, which left the vents open, so the cold air came into the pipes and froze the pipes. And that was about a $5,000 repair job. A couple thousand for the unit and about $3,000 of internal damage that it caused. So we have multiple steam leaks in the piping, and we haven't even started the cooling season yet for air conditioning. So we're yet to see, what the condition is on those systems. So these are replacement costs if we were to replace everything that we currently have in place. As you can see, there's your numbers. The high school, Compass, Acres, Sutton, Hart Park, and Patterson. So in total, it's over $5 million. And that is based on the costs at the top, which are rough estimates. Josh Madison actually put a lot of these numbers together before I started. So these costs can be reduced depending on what type of systems we put in. These estimates are replacing with exactly what we have in place, which I would actually not recommend we do. And I'll show you some of that in a second. Another option to reduce the overall costs and to extend the life of our systems is to actually put in a preventative maintenance agreement. I have one quote thus far. 2 other companies are working on quotes for us. He's basically, you can see some of the advantages to the scope. It's much more thorough than what we can provide in-house. We really don't have an HVAC technician in-house. We have one individual who has a lot of experience with our equipment. He's been here for over 30 years himself, but he's not HVAC technician. He's not a trained technician. He's not certified by any means. So when it gets into technical repairs, we have to sub it all out. If we can get a preventative maintenance agreement in place, then it will extend the life of our equipment. If we can do that in conjunction with this 10-year plan, then we can extend the life of that equipment for that 10-year span while it's in the process of getting replaced. So, I also looked at possibly hiring a certified technician, put him on staff. What that would look like. There's some concerns there, and I mentioned limited expertise. It's not that they're not experts in the field, but you tend to run into with HVAC technicians is they're either boiler guys or they're forced air guys or they're they specialize in their field. So it's hard to find a technician who covers everything we have. You might find somebody who's really good at a certain aspect of it, but not necessarily all of it. And plus, when they're not working on HVAC equipment, we're paying a premium rate for him to do other things in the district, which is not exactly the most feasible. So as I talked about, these are some recommendations for the replacement plan. It'll stretch out to a 10-year project as opposed to replacing everything lumped together all at once. My suggestion, and I'm talking with people that are more qualified than myself about this, is to eliminate the boiler system. The univents are run off of the boilers. Our boiler systems are probably 50 to 60% efficient, whereas high efficiency forced air units, gas-fired units, run as high as 98% today. So, I mean, you're going to recover the cost of those units quickly, just in the efficiency of them as opposed to the boiler trying to do all the work. The internal piping is failing. There is some cleaner that runs through the pipes, but the pipes are actually getting thin from the inside out. We've seen that, and we know that to be a fact with the univents. When we found cracks, some of them could not be repaired because the piping was so thin. So there's concern about the building structures themselves as far as the piping throughout, the main piping feeding the univents. And then, I talked again there about the preventative maintenance agreement. I think that would be a big help to get all we can out of what we currently have until it can get replaced. So my request is I'm basically asking to be allowed to continue with gathering preventative maintenance agreements prices and then gathering replacement HVAC estimates as well. These are things that will have to go to the state website to be, gather bids throughout, it's a requirement through schools, through the state. So they have to be, posted and be open for bid. We can't just, go and get our local contractors to quote it. We have to have it open for bid. But we do have some local contractors that have given us some prices thus far. But we have to go through the legal process and make sure we're doing it correctly. But, so basically, I'd be asking for permission to proceed with that process. And then the last thing I kind of put on there is please consider these prices and these costs. This is one item that I'm covering right now, so it is the most costly, but I have a lot of other numbers coming to you soon. Unfortunately, that's my job. I get to be the bearer of that bad news, but there's, all in all, like I said, the structures are in excellent condition, but we need to start from the infrastructure and start working our way out. So, but please consider these estimates when you decide on what to spend money on, I guess. All right.
Do we have a PM schedule now?
No, we have a schedule, but not an agreement with the company. So we have a routine that we follow, but it's very limited. Changing filters, changing belts, greasing, bearings, things like that. There has been in the past, in I believe it was 2013, I think it was 2014, there were preventative maintenance agreements in place with the local contractor, and they were halted at that point. Since then, we've not had one with an outside contractor, an outside vendor. Everything was being done in-house, and it's getting pretty bad shape as far as that goes. So.
To clarify, you're saying that historically we had PM agreements and we just halted them?
Correct. We started doing it in-house.
Yes. All these buildings were done in 2001 through 3. Were they all totally redone?
Yes, that's pretty typical. Most equipment is going to have about a 20-year lifespan, realistically.
Same company do all the buildings?
I couldn't tell you for sure, but yeah, they know that. Some work has been done since. I think it's, if I remember right, I believe it's south that has some newer boilers. They still have issues, but yeah, I definitely would look at some other options as opposed to the boilers. Not totally opposed to getting away from boilers altogether, but if we do go that route, I imagine all the internal piping would have to be replaced.
But you could use the same ductwork for the air?
Yes, with the univents, they pretty much only take care of the individual classroom. So, and that's where we have most of most units, our univents. So you could basically run gas lines on the exterior of the building, drop it to the univent, and then it feeds right in through the exterior wall. They're all mounted on the exterior wall, and replace those with what's called a P-TEC unit. Smaller, more efficient, gas-fired, virtually vent-free.
Cheaper to run.
Yes, yes, exactly. And they would tie into the venting that's already in place.
All that piping.
Correct. Correct. Yes. So, any other questions?
I assume that you'll be getting estimates together and this will go through our committee so they can bounce all the different options off.
Yes, I am looking forward to the committee meetings. We have several things to cover.
Lastly, I didn't get a copy of your PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Absolutely, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Makerspace.
Hello, welcome to North. Just as part of the meeting being held here tonight, we just wanted to share with you some of the neat things that we're doing here. So we chose one of the things that we recently have added to our building. Here with us as well, we have Marley and Amber. They are two Tecumseh High School 9th grade students, and they were looking for a way to help bring other students, specifically here at the ELC, some of the same things that they enjoy during their school day. For their passion project at the high school, the girls created a makerspace room here at North. It's actually right down the hallway. They cleaned, organized, and decorated to transform the classroom into a makerspace for young 5, kindergarten, and 1st grade students to use. And I apologize, we forgot to introduce ourselves as well. I'm Maddie Mills. I'm a first grade teacher here.
Hello, I'm Christy Schussler. I am also a first grade teacher. Since the girls developed this room, students have been able to use the classroom where they have more room to move around, to create and engineer. They've been using this room to complete STEM projects and also something called Genius Hour, which you will see some slides of in a bit. I'm going to let the students share with you more about the makerspace because they say it best, so we're going to play a video for you. Thank you.
Fortunately, the recording is very soft. So
So how did the makerspace at North ELC begin?
Our passion project, we decided that we wanted to do something that would incorporate some of the things we were learning at the STEAM centers into the early learning centers. To do this, we first collaborated with some of the teachers to see what their ideas were. We learned that they were really excited about a maker room, so we decided to create one. This would be a collaborative space for learners to work on hands-on projects. We got a classroom approved by Mr. McDowell and began working on it after school.
Young learners could go and learn more about engineering. We cleared out the room so there would be space for the young learners to move and create freely. We made a wall explaining the processes of engineering. We wanted to emphasize the 5 steps of the engineering process. Ask, imagine, plan, create, improve. This helps them create a successful final product.
First graders recently used the space for a Genius Hour project to wonder, research, write, design, engineer, and present about an animal of their choice.
The favorite part was building stuff, and what I like to build is animals, like researching animals and building animals. I learned about tigers. I used books and iPads to get my research. My favorite fact is tigers give birth to a litter of 3 or 4 cubs. I made a book about sloths with a bunch of facts. I know some facts about sloths. They are a medium-sized animal. They live in Central America. Slowly, they have very sharp claws. They live in trees. They live for 2 decades. Algae on their fur provide it with camouflage. There are 2 kinds of sloths: 2-toed sloths and 3-toed sloths. Sloths, they are not monkeys. Sloths have short tails. They are good climbers. They are herbivores. They eat plants. The babies drink milk from their mother's sloths. These sloths have cool features. This is my Maker Mat creation, and I was doing a poster about dolphins, and this is the materials I used, and this is my poster. Okay, so I made a giant squid. I colored in the volcano first, and then I colored in the rocks, and then I colored in the black, and then I cut out my squid head, and I took these and used hot glue to glue them on. I also hot glued these on, and this is made out of tissue paper, and this is made out of pipe cleaners, which I use the pipe cleaners for the tentacles. Other classes came down and they looked at our projects. I like Genius Hour because I got to research and make a model of a zebra. In Maker Room, we make plans to solve problems. If you go to Makerspace, it helps your brain get stronger because it can get your brain bigger of your skull, and it runs it if you mess up, and on your thing if you mess up, you can always build it again. The Makerspace because you get to build stuff and you get to be creative. My favorite thing about the Makerspace is that we get to work with the parts. Something I like about the Makerspace is it has all the materials we need. Build stuff to save the world. When you build things, it might work, it might not. You just have to build it back up if it doesn't. It helps your brain learn more things, and you can build stuff that you thought you could never do. Makerspace, we don't give up, and we keep trying. We never give up. The favorite thing about the Makerspace is engineering. My favorite thing used to be research, now it is making projects in the Makerspace.
And some of the things that they enjoy now that we have the Makerspace installed, and that's just a small sliver of what we've done in the Makerspace. So you guys are more than welcome to always come and check it out. It's definitely a highlight here at the school now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Rhodes, on Tecumseh initiative?
Yes, for the school board's information, this morning we released parent and teacher surveys. It was over 2,900 surveys went out. Jason Young, our institutional researcher, said we had some pretty good feedback so far in terms of responses. The other issue is we're going to actually post something on the website just in case a teacher or a parent didn't receive that. We tried to extract the information out of our eSchool system just to make sure we had all of the addresses. However, if something ended up in spam or whatever the case is, we just wanted to make sure that everyone was reached. We have follow-up reminders as well. So for example, if we don't see a response after a few days, we don't notice that it's even been opened, there'll be an automated response that will actually go back out and say, hey, there's a survey, you were invited to it, and it'll provide that information and start that survey in email. So we hope for a good response. We're really looking forward to hearing from parents and from teachers. The survey was structured in such a way that it's pretty much open-ended. It's a qualitative approach. It allows people to give feedback. The challenge will be is we have some systems to be able to code that, so that's not a completely manual process from what I understand from Mr. Young, but it definitely is quite a bit of work to do that. But we felt it was better to allow people open-ended answers so they could write as much as they wanted versus creating a closed question. So you know, we weren't trying to target a response. We just basically wanted to open it up for people.
How long is it open?
It'll be open for several weeks. It really depends on the response rate. We'd like to see it, if necessary, we can always extend it to keep it open. I mean, sometimes surveys can have low response rates, but I mean, as we see, we have a large turnout in our community, and I'm really hoping that people will respond to that survey.
And then how long after does it take to analyze everything?
It'll take Dr. Young about probably 2 weeks worth of effort on his side to be able to do that.
Oh, thanks, Bill. I do have a loud voice, though.
Okay, so the question for the audience was, from Ms. Brooks, we started with parents, teachers, and is there a plan to extend that further out to staff, et cetera? Yes, that's actually the case. We will do that. First, we were going to see, we wanted to be able to get through the work, well, not me, but Dr. Young needs to be able to get through the work and asked that we start with parents and teachers first, since we identified that was the most critical area, is to get the response from our teachers. That's something that you ran on for your platform in terms of the election, and that's something that we want to be able to do. The other aspect is committees. In terms of that, we've started to establish the committee meetings themselves. The first basic meeting will be about establishing protocols, guidelines, what the major topics are, some brainstorming sessions, and the curriculum committees will provide basically an update as to what do we have in place today, and that's something that we feel is important to set the ground for everybody inside the curriculum committee. So that'll be done. And that's basically it for one Tecumseh at this point in time.
I've got a couple more questions.
Okay.
So, sorry, this Jim was setting off my asthma, so no scratching. With the committee, so I've had people reach out to me for my committee wanting to know when we're getting started. So is that something that I know before we talked about kind of doing it as a rolling thing, is that still the plan? Yes.
The issue that we have right now is we have limited resources, and I mean, there's some long days for some of our staff, and we just want to make sure that we don't burn people out as we're trying to have all the committees to meet. I mean, the core focus is the curriculum committee. That's where we want to start. So that's pretty much what we've started to schedule. And we will do the other committees, just we need to have a staggered approach, so because the amount of work to prepare for those is pretty extensive.
Do we have a projected timeline for that, or not yet?
No, not yet.
And then when we do, I mean, because I wasn't on the one that's already talked about it, how do we initiate that? Is it an email that goes out to the committee members?
So what we did in the curriculum committee, the challenge is finding time when different people can get together.
Right.
So that was the first step. First thing we have to do is identify when can people actually meet. So it could be Monday through Sunday. We give people the ability to look at times, things like that.
Do we put out like an email?
Yeah, it's a sign-up genius.
Okay.
I mean, it's essentially a sign-up genius, and then we look at, where can we get most of the people together. I mean, we will have meeting minutes for every one of these meetings. They will be open to the public. We're looking at what technology options we have so that we could actually record that so people could watch it or they could participate in real time. So we're working on that as well.
Okay. Like I said, I've been getting some emails, and I'm like, I'll keep you posted. The other thing.
I can't hear you back here, Becky. It sounds really muffled, really muffled.
Sorry.
Well, I'm just letting you know.
Appreciate it. The other thing I was going to ask you was, I was going to thank you for putting up the ideas that we want to incorporate in those committees. So I appreciate that.
Yes, I mean, that's something that we placed up on the website in terms of our, how we would like to conduct the meetings and the expectation we have of people that are participating in the committees. Yes, and we'll review that in actually the first meeting of each one of the committees. So any other questions from the school board? Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to discussion items. First thing is what we add here is the Freedom of Information Act appeal. As you know, that we had an appeal. Someone asked for an email of a student that we do not have, and it was denied. And
Are we
it is-
adding this?
Yes, that we added it at the beginning of the
Oh,
year.
okay.
And it was denied, and it's been appealed to the board. And we discussed our letter that we had in closed session last time from the attorney. And it's in the board packet, so I don't know if you, the letter isn't, but the FOI appeal should be in there. So,
There's an A on
it's right here.
Oh, that's.
It's information we don't even, we can't give.
We don't have,
it.
it was a student's information, we don't have it, the student deleted the email, so.
And once they're deleted, you can retrieve them for so long, but not.
Yeah, we got, I think.
It's beyond that.
What is it, Google, 20 days, right? 20 days.
So we don't even have it. There's no way to retrieve it, right?
I don't have it. So we'll read that, to vote on that, and I have to present that to the person that had the Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
Next item is the superintendent's contract. You all should have a copy of that in your board packet. Now, it's a one-year contract. It's for $115,000. And it'll be prorated from March 12th, 2019 to June 30th, 2019, and then start again July 1 of 2019 for a year, so until June 30th of 2020. The board is also going to pay $5,000 for an annuity selected by the superintendent. And there is a clause in here for $10,000 in merit pay, but that's completely up to the board if we want to do that or not. So that'll be a review sort of thing.
This is pretty much what it has been.
Yeah.
Pay-wise and everything
Yep.
like that.
Still the same amount of vacation days as what you had initially. It's like 30 days in here for personal time off. What Ryan had before is the tech director. Is it 30?
I don't have anything.
All right, we'll move on. We also have citizen participation that we essentially, because of the last board meeting, I've been advised by attorneys that you can't really cut someone off because we don't have a board policy per se or rules. So we contacted the LISD and they've shared their rules with us. It should be here in your board packet. It's just a little sheeter. And that way we can make sure that comments stay professional and there's some decorum that goes on from there. So, yep, it's 2 pages.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are we gonna post these? What's the-
These will be posted. I recommend that we put them in our bylaws and that we post them at each meeting, and it'll be part of the agenda that we have. So.
Is this what most other schools have?
We got this from the LISD, and yeah, this is.
It does look like a carbon copy. Other schools have too.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
The issue right now is that, like the lawyer told me, is that you just can't tell, well, you can't talk about that, because then we get into their First Amendment rights, because we didn't have any rules that went along with this.
Okay.
So this way we get just a little bit more rules per se, and people still have their First
Right, it
Amendment
talks
rights.
about public debate, because that was a problem, people started,
Right. But we don't need airing of laundry per se.
Okay. So then do we have to vote on this, or is it?
We'll vote on it further down. I just didn't know if you guys want to discuss it all.
We'll vote today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys good? All right, the next item is the budget revision. And, Ryan, do you want to go over that, please?
Sure, included in your packet is an update to the budget in terms of what you'd asked. You originally requested us to try to get to a 15% fund equity. Due to the expenses that we have at this moment, and due to the situation that I received when taking over in my role, the best we can do at this point in time is 14.6% approximately. We were just above 14% prior. That means pushing quite a few things into next year. Just to speak openly, one of my major concerns is for next year's budget, if you look at our operational expenditures that we have today and what will be required for next year, that will require us to also go in and to look at what we're doing and what we're spending financially. So I hate to say it, essentially what we're doing is just kicking the can down the road. At some point in time, we're going to have to take a hard look at what we're doing operationally and determine if we can still afford to do the things that we're doing today. Because right now, with the loss of students that we had, the loss of that funding that we had, essentially if we can't get students back and we can't find a way to get people back into our community, into our schools, then that creates an issue. Because our operational expenditures were based upon the number of students that we had at that point in time. And we no longer have those same amount of students. So we're going to have to address that. So this year, 14.6%, that means there's some raises, for example, that we cannot offer. There are some things that we will have to bypass in terms of facilities. We've worked with Mr. Brown on that already. So it's...
Do we need to be so aggressive on the, I mean, I know we kind of got ourselves in the bind here, but do we need to go so full?
My concern is actually what comes next year. It's more so that my issue is it's not just this year. I'm looking at it holistically of what we have and the situation we're in over the next 2 to 3 years. Every dollar that we spend today is something that we're going to have to find in 6 months or in a year from now in order to try to recover that. I mean, it was pretty clear. Mr. Brown posted what he's looking at in terms of his projects. I mean, if we actually did that, that was nearly $5 million. I mean, that would completely drain our fund equity. We would have a problem with that.
Well, the point was to do it over time.
Yeah, that's correct, but that's only one component of what he showed you.
No, I know.
And when he brings the rest of it and he starts to show you the things that we need to do for our buildings because of a lack of maintenance, that will be an issue, and we're going to have to look at that. I mean, 14.6%. That's, I was given a target of 15. That's the best I can do at this point in time. If you would like to somehow relieve that and give me some leeway, then okay, then there are some things that we could do this year budgetary-wise. But I was given a target, I tried to hit that target.
Okay, well, let's at least talk about it.
Okay. I do believe Nikki Reinhardt is here. If there are any questions in detail specifically, we can address those to her if necessary. If you do look at our budgets, you'll see quite clearly we have a large portion of our budget is basically in labor.
Definitely going to have to have some hard discussions. Have you guys started working on the budget for next year?
Yes, we've begun that process for our budgeting for next year. That's something that we're trying to do a little bit different. Instead of a top-down approach, we wanted to have the administrators and the various teams involved in terms of a bottom-up approach as well as a top-down.
Right.
But we are beginning that process, yes. So essentially why I had to come back, so we have to submit to the state. We just can't say, well, we have to hit like a 15% or there has to be a 14.6%. We actually have to have specific line items. So we have to deliver a detailed budget. Okay. That's the reason for that. But once again, I will stress, next year will be a challenge for sure. There is no question to that because the number of students we have versus the operational costs, they don't match.
Any questions? Okay, no questions, sir?
All right, thank you.
Okay, so action items. Can I get a motion to approve the revised budget?
Support.
Roll call. Abbott.
It's not a public meeting or anything, it's cool. That's all they got. Aren't public deliberations supposed to be public? I'm a little confused.
Can't hear you. We can't hear anything.
They're not publicly deliberating, they're deliberating in private.
I get that, but are they supposed to?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
We were discussing adding something to the public. It's not really deliberating it.
It still needs to be public. Not closed session.
It is a meeting in public, yes.
Yeah, well, it's not if you're not talking, so we can hear you. Oopity pop.
Okay, can I get an approval for the revised budget?
Support.
Abbott.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next item, action item is to read and approve the Freedom of Information Act appeal.
Whereas on March 1st, 2019, Tecumseh Public Schools District received a request for public records under Michigan's Freedom of Information Act, MCL 15.231, for FOIA, F-O-I-A, requesting communications sent via electronic mail to Tecumseh Public School students expressing unhappiness with the appointment of the co-superintendent. We got it? FOIA requires the district to provide non-exempt public records which exist at the time of the request. The district's interim co-superintendent provided a written response to the requestor on March 4th, 2019, stating that the email communications to the Tecumseh Public Schools student expressing unhappiness with the appointment of the co-superintendent did not exist because they had been previously deleted and were not maintained by the district. Pursuant to FOIA, the district's written response informed the requester of the right to appeal the non-disclosure action taken by the interim co-superintendent to the district's Board of Education. On March 13th, 2019, the district received via electronic mail an appeal from the individual that made the original request for public records under FOIA, requesting that the Board of Education review the previous denial of the request for public records, stating that the district should have regular data backups of the email servers. Section 10 of FOIA states that within 10 business days after receiving a written appeal pursuant to subsection 1A, the head of the public body shall do one of the following: A, reverse the disclosure denial; B, issue a written notice to the requester person upholding the disclosure denial; C, reverse the disclosure denial in part and issue a written notice to the requesting person upholding the disclosure denial in part;
D, under unusual circumstances, issuing a notice extending for not more than 10 business days the period during which the head of the public body shall respond to the written appeal. The head of the public body shall not issue more than one notice of extension for a particular written appeal. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Education, after reasonable diligence, has determined and hereby certifies that the electronic mail communications that were previously sent to a student of the district that expressed unhappiness with the appointment of the co-superintendent did not exist at the time in which the district received the FOIA request for those records. Because the electronic mail communications that were previously sent to a student of the district that expressed unhappiness with the appointment of the co-superintendent that were requested via electronic mail dated March 1st, 2019 did not exist at that time of the request, the Board of Education upholds the previous denial for the disclosure of public records dated March 4th, 2019 and signed by the co-interim superintendent. The Board of Education authorizes the board president to provide written notice as required by FOIA to the individual that requested the public records, informing them of the board's action as described in this resolution due to the non-existence of the requested records at the time that the FOIA request was received by the district.
Was there a motion?
Was there a second?
There was a resolution.
Needs to be moved and seconded properly. It's called Robert's Rules of Order.
Next item is consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Roll call. Abbott.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item scheduled for next agenda, April 8th, is the good news discussion and reports, action items, and school budget update. This will bring us to our second public comment portion. If you have something you'd like to say, please come to the podium. You are limited to 3 minutes.
My name is Lynn Davis, and I'm a parent in the district. I share the concerns about the budgetary needs of the district in Mr. Rhodes' comments. The responsibility to improve enrollment lies squarely on the shoulders of the board. And I hope that through these committees and the things that you're developing and the visibility that you will provide, that it gives not only those that have left because of the concerns about the new curriculum, but also those that have left because of the uncertainty in the district, and those that are here and wondering if they should leave, all the reason to stay with Tecumseh, or to come back to Tecumseh. But whatever help I can provide, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Keyser. I live here in Tecumseh. I have 4 students who attend Tecumseh High School. I come forward today because I felt there was a need for me to speak about an issue that I've heard rumors that I need to make sure that if the board has heard them, I want them to understand, at least from my perspective, where I stand with these. The rumors I have heard is that the principal that I work for, Melanie Noack, has worked under terms of intimidation, threats, using her authority to make us feel intimidated. I would like to make sure that the board hears that under none of these situations have I ever felt that way. Never has she ever made me feel uncomfortable, threatened, or what have you. I've been in this district for 19 years. This is my 19th year teaching here. I've worked under a number of principals. I've been at the middle school, I've been at the high school, I've now been at both East and West STEAM centers. She is one of the administrators that I trust. I don't have the greatest trust of administrators just due to things that I've seen in the past with other people. But I have felt very comfortable talking with Mrs. Nowak about any situation in our building that I think has existed. I feel very comfortable bringing any concerns with her to her that I have. If there's any concerns that I have with my feelings of my own teaching or interactions with my colleagues, I don't ever fear any retribution. I don't ever fear any form of recrimination or any kind of consequences that would come because I brought my opinions and my feelings and my observations to her. So if you have heard any of those things, and I've heard a few of the mutterings within the community, I don't have specific names, but I would like you to know that she is one of the principals that I have respected most in the 19 years that I have been here and the 22 years that I have been teaching. I would also like to add the same for Mr. Mills, because he has worked with my students, one of whom has been dealt with being intimidated, by being picked on, by being singled out, and this has been the best school year that he has now had. We've had a few conversations with Mr. Mills, with his counselors, and I can happily say that my son is feeling the most comfortable and confident that he has ever felt in that building. And so I just would like to point those things out, that these are two administrators who I have a great deal of respect for, and I want to make sure that it is heard that they are in no way intimidating any of our staff members that I'm aware of, and that I have the greatest and utmost respect for. And I am appreciative of the fact that she's come in and she's supported me and she's helped me to become a better special education teacher and a better support to my students and a better support to the staff. Thank you. Thank you.
Start by saying I was not planning on coming here tonight, but after reading an email that was posted on Facebook, I felt the need to come and voice my concerns. In my 35 years of working for Tecumseh Public Schools, I don't ever recall receiving an email from a board member. If I did, I can guarantee I never received an email from a board president that challenged the professionalism and the integrity of the TPS staff. Mr. Simpson, I found your email to the staff to be, in all honesty, disgusting. It's extremely apparent that you're threatened by having your actions and the actions of the board questioned. The community, including our valued staff members, should have the right to question decisions that are made. The community and staff members should have the right to voice their concerns without fear of retribution. The high standards and expectations that you are setting for the staff also need to apply to the board. The next time you find it imperative to email the staff, I would hope that email would not contain an order or veiled threat to support an unqualified superintendent. You are creating a toxic work teaching environment. Mr. Simpson, by hiring a non-educator, you and the board own what is quickly becoming a mess. There is a reason that many of the larger colleges offer advanced degrees in educational leadership. There is something to be said for not only qualifications, but for public school experience. The 2018 Michigan Superintendent of the Year lists on her bio BA, MA, and doctorate degrees in education and educational leadership. Her work history includes 30 years as an educator. My point is, our respected and qualified administrators deserve to be properly evaluated by a certified and experienced educational leader. Every other public school in the county, and probably in the state, has someone who meets this criteria. We can no longer say that about Tecumseh. As you move forward with the so-called One Tecumseh, I think all stakeholders should continue to strive to make TPS the best. However, based upon the communication that transpired today, I question how sincere your message of unity truly is. Trust and respect is earned. It is not something that can be ordered. Thank you for listening.
Boy, it's a good thing that this has an up and down motion because I'd be standing on my tiptoes. But my name is Melissa Hilton and I'm an educator at Tecumseh Public Schools. And I had no intentions of speaking this evening. However, I was very moved by our high school presentation on the sources of strength. And I just want to commend all of the people, or give props to those that are devoted to this action for our Tecumseh High School students. I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, a wife, a mother, a teacher, yet I still feel insecure. This year I suffered a loss. It was my brother. He did take his own life. It was a very challenging time for myself to be professional and come to school. It was the week of conferences near Thanksgiving. I'm a veteran teacher of several years. I taught 8th grade, 3rd grade, and kindergarten. Why do I feel insecure? Ironic. Why do I feel nervous speaking? I'm not a nervous presenter. However, today I did receive an email reminding me to, excuse me while I flip, I'm just going to paraphrase a few parts of that. It's reminding me to, I was expected, it says, we expect you to perform and remain focused on our students, as they are the key to our future. Why did I receive this? I am a very focused and dedicated teacher. And if I'm not, I would expect to get an email to me privately. However, I was also reminded that I as a staff member, am expected to act with professionalism and high standards, as that is what our community expects. Many of you sitting on the board don't know me, but I take pride in the type of teacher that I am. I take pride in the sister that I couldn't be to my brother because he needed a source of strength. Your teachers, your administrators, our board, our community needs sources of strength. But why do I feel so intimidated? Why do I feel pressure? It's not because of the 5- and 6-year-olds that come through my doors. It's not because of the parents that I sat with. It's not because of the make it, take it sessions that I have with families. It's not because of my administrator who's doing an amazing job coming into our community as a new administrator for Tecumseh. It's not because of Carl Lewandowski who supported me and helped me face the changes. It's because of some of the things that we are facing as a staff. How am I expected to deliver instruction when I get an email from our board president in the middle of my day? That's almost making an accusation, because I received it, that I am not professional. I've had highly effective ratings. I've had effective ratings. I've had components where I need, never been minimally effective. I take pride in our school. I take pride in my position. I take pride in Tecumseh. And that homonym that we're using, One Tecumseh, isn't because of who won the election. We have the power in this building and all of our buildings, no matter what you call us, to make it One Tecumseh. But please take the opportunity to listen to the people who are brave enough to come up here and don't look at the source of strength, because we all need to feel Like, we matter. We do matter. We all have a poster somewhere. Let's look at those posters and let's look at the education that is needed, not just for our children, but for our teachers, our superintendent, with no disrespect. I have a master's in education and I'm continuously learning. It's taken me, I'm going to be 50 this year. So please hear the people that are speaking. And let's agree to disagree, but let's remain professional and let's just please be a source of strength for our teachers and our families, our administrators, because I feel like our pyramid, and we're the Early Learning Center, we're supposed to be the foundation and the base. And I feel like it's crumbling. I feel like the walls are closing in. Please hear the public. Thank you.
My name is Raymond Schmidt. I come here with a great deal of concern for my son and my daughter-in-law because I'm going to say some things. And I know there are a lot of teachers in this school district right now who are fearful. Fearful of you. Fearful of you. And when I read that email today, I kept saying to my wife, I've got to go to that school board meeting. I've got to go to that school board meeting. And I showed up here about 10, 15 minutes ago, and she kept saying to me, your son needs his job. Your daughter-in-law needs her job. There are a lot of teachers here that are fearful of this school board. I taught in this school district for 33 years. I'm an educator with 38 years of experience. I coached football. I coached wrestling. I was class advisor. I never was ever treated the way this staff was threatened today. In my office, I had a framed quote, and that quote was, without character, there is no leadership. And I'm questioning your character.
My name is Jenny Lagore. I'm a mom at Compass. And I just wanted to point out, you know, this last election that got you all here on the board seemed to be pretty targeted at the project-based learning. And yet this room exploded in the celebration of the presentations we had today. The high schoolers with the art department, to me, prime example of project-based learning. Those young people are learning how to plan and take action in high school. And then we have another presentation following them that they understand words that I didn't understand when I graduated. Maybe shame on me, maybe shame on the fact, or not, no shame, let's just say progressed. We have progressed in a great way. And I'm very sad that it seemed that you came in with a very vindictive agenda to get rid of a very qualified superintendent just because she didn't fit your opinions, is what my perspective is. And I think that is a shame, because you could have come in and learned from her. You could have come in and found out more about the project-based learning and all of the arguments talking about districts that it didn't work. Why didn't they work? Did they quit after a year? Come on, let's find out. Then we have kindergartners and first graders in this building learning how to apply project-based learning. So I don't understand the desire to go backward. Another thing I wanted to point out at another meeting that I ended up not communicating fully is when I attended the Cradle to Career a few summers ago, their whole reason, my understanding for that initiative, I could be wrong, so forgive me if I am, is because we sat in a room for a very long day, and then several, I think it was 3 or 4 other evenings throughout the next month, and or 2 months, memory is failing. The data was collected from across this county. So those in Tecumseh that have left the schools because they didn't like project-based learning, the other schools in this county don't show good numbers either. So the whole county needs a reform, and that is where Dr. Coffin was trying to take us. My understanding is the state of Michigan is legislating changes coming down, so things that you have wanted to kick out and not do may be mandated. Who knows? We'll find out. I think it's ridiculous. Your clean sweep seems to have swept out a lot of positive and brought in a whole lot of negative. I have to be very honest, that was ghastly, the things that were said, that were stated that have been said to administrators. That should never happen. And I don't know why you didn't get into the consent of his contract tonight. I hope it's because you're going to consider it more thoroughly, that no one should have that position with those allegations. Now, granted, it could end up being said that it's my word against yours, but my goodness, no words like that should ever be said about somebody taking such an important role in our district, which is already hurting. So, make sure there's nothing else that I wanted to say. I thank you for your time. I really pray that you have a lot of wisdom in moving forward, and that you not make your choices and decisions based on your own understanding. Because none of you up here in front, minus Griff, have an educational background from what I've been told and what I understand. You need to glean from people who do. So please, make some good choices from here on out.
My name is Cheryl Bendis. I'm a parent of a Tecumseh student, and I work in another district. And I would like to address a few things. Number one, the email that Mr. Simpson sent out today was made public, and I have to say, in my almost 30 years of public school service, I have never been sent an email or any correspondence from a board member, so I found that interesting, to say the least. Secondly, I thought it was very poorly written to address your staff as ladies and gentlemen, and then to continue saying things like, any rumor that is being spread concerning this topic should be reported. You know what? You have created on your ground zero your teachers who are interacting with our children every day. This board and superintendent, or interim superintendent, has created fear. They're all scared. They see people, Dr. Coffin, gone, other people, gone. They're going to talk about it. And you know what? They have a right to do that.
That's right.
And they are
That's
and under no circumstances do you have the right to tell them who to support and who not to support. As citizens of this city, great. As employees, perfect. But as citizens, no. And let me tell you, in no uncertain terms, I will be watching to see what happens to people who spoke out against this board and the superintendent. And I fully intend to support them with my union in another county and whatever it takes. This is out of control. You should, the fact that you would even entertain hiring someone to run an education public entity who does not have a degree in education, I don't even have a word to describe it. It makes no sense. If none of you have a background in education, the first thing I do is say, who do we know who's in education who can help us with this? We didn't like the way it was going. We need to go in another direction. We need to have an expert. You don't have an expert. You don't have an expert. How sad is that? My daughter will be done in 3 years. We'll tough it out. But I tell you, if I had a little one, I'd hightail it out of this district.
So some of you may have missed it, but the contract was approved as part of the consent agenda. We have a superintendent. We have a superintendent. He's been approved.
Oh my God.
That was what happened.
I know.
We had the consent agenda.
Conversation, please. This isn't an open dialogue. If you have something to say to the board,
I can say whatever I would like, my dear.
We can't talk back and forth with people.
I just did. If you would like, you can have Mr. Rogers in the back there can go ahead and escort me out, I suppose. It's funny to me. It's funny to me that you went ahead and It's funny to me that you just said a little while ago another lie about, well, we couldn't do anything to stop anybody from talking about what happened at the March 11th meeting when you participated in the defamation of one of our parents. Do you remember that? You participated in the defamation of one of our parents? So, here's the thing. On January 28th, you told me I couldn't talk anymore. And it was because you're sensitive to what you're talking about. I'm not going to stop talking, so if you want to have the police come and arrest me, I guess you can, but I'm not going to stop talking.
I might have to.
So, here's the thing.
You're not going to
These people are going to be
defamatory
recalled.
comments
This is
up here.
ridiculous.
Oh, come on.
So what's funny is that you were here, and what you did is that you allowed something to happen. You knew that you had the power and the authority and the responsibility to stop it from happening, and yet you participated in it. I
did not participate in it,
So
Bill.
here's what I got a chance to say, which is really interesting. Openness and
Okay, Bill,
transparency.
you're done speaking.
No, I'm not. I got
Yes, you
3
are.
minutes.
No, you're done.
Openness and transparency.
Bill, you're done.
Openness and transparency is what you ran
Chief
on.
Coker, can you please remove Bill from the building?
And so here's the story. When I got up here to talk about something that affected you, you shut it down instantly. When it went ahead and was about somebody else, you let it run
Over 3
because
minutes the last time.
because
I
this
got Bill,
person.
he lets you talk every day, all day.
No, you just told me at the last meeting on February 25th, I had to stop talking.
My name is Carl Lewandowski. I am proud to be a co-administrator at Compass Learning Center, where every day we all provide the very best education to our children. I filed a legal complaint with the board, and I was fired for it.
Are you kidding?
I have been loyal to Kelly Cochran, and you have called me a Kelly crony. Milt, Susan, Mike, when Mr. McCarron was here, did you ever call me a Mike crony? I was loyal to Mike. Ask him. I was loyal to Richard Fauble. Ask him. I was loyal to Jerry Pound. Ask him. I was told today that I am a non-renewal because I am promoting competency-based education.
Oh boy.
I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you, to promote it. Or to support it. I'm pretty sure I won't be around much longer after tonight. And I do believe that's because I shared my complaint with you, the school board, that I have been fired. I would like to take this moment to thank everyone here in the audience, as well as those watching this through live stream, for allowing me to be part of the greatness that Tecumseh has always been. Thank you.
demonstration. Yes, I did, and I'm sorry, I don't know rules. My name is Jenny Lagore, so if I'm wrong, please endure, because there's a whole lot of wrong going on in this system.
That's right.
The conspirator right here is Ryan Rhodes, and I do my best to be very respectful. I believe in treating people with honor and respect, and for that matter, I believe it's worthy to be called out. It is sickening that that was just consented to. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. I cannot believe it. And you thought numbers left before? Who wants to come where it has been stated publicly by people that have to work under him that it's all fear? What is going on? And yet, a good friend of mine and a very professional human being has a platform of social emotional learning that talks about love-based education, where children feel valued and empowered. How can that happen when you have staff that don't feel valued or empowered? That is incredible. This is sick. And I am so sorry that you are on this board, and I would really, really believe that everybody that is aghast with all of this, we will take to the streets, and we will make sure we get another board in very soon.
My name is Lisa Michelin. I don't know if this microphone is working. I have 2 kids in Tecumseh schools. Tim, I'm looking right at you. You and I had kids going to West last year, and you and I sat together. We had coffee in December, and we went through the same experiences. How you can tell me that you didn't get any feedback or that you didn't get anywhere when talking to the administration and Kelly Coffin, it's the same feedback that I was giving them. I made headway. I don't understand how you did. You and I sat and had coffee in early December. I looked you square in the face, and I said, are you going to fire Kelly Coffin? You couldn't even look me in the eye, and you said, well, I don't know. There are performance problems. There were no performance problems. You guys had that planned from day one. The fact that this board sat there at the last meeting and witnessed what was done to one of the parents and didn't stand up, didn't have the backbone to stand up and take control of that meeting, yet you just have Bill removed because he spoke the truth. That is weak, and that is absolutely cowardly. It's cowardly, exactly. The fact that you then come out with a statement on racism, give me a break. That is pitiful. And now you come out with a policy. You're chasing. You're not leading. You're chasing what's happening. You said there was fear in the teachers before. If you watched in the back of this room when people stood up, your staff and teachers were in tears over what happened. You're just checking through the list. We could probably all sit here and come up with a list of who's going to be fired next. Ryan Rhodes, I call on you to resign.
Yes!
What this board is doing to this town is bad enough. But you need to man up and resign. Yes. Because we are not going to make any forward movement while you are in this position.
So, my name is John Salmonson, and last weekend there was a gentleman here by Mr. Martinez, I think, and I think he's the gentleman you're talking about that rose that thing. Well, that was my son that Miss Langstrom talked about in those texts. It was my son that had the interaction with her daughter, okay?
John,
let me include you guys in on
just
something.
address the board, please.
Oh, thank you. So, I worked at the Adrian Training School for 15 years. 7 years of that, I worked specifically with sex offenders. 8 years of that, I worked with girls. The worst teens in the world. I was an educator. Matter of fact, I've known Kelly Coffin since 1994. I don't know how many of you guys have been able to say that. They've actually worked with her side by side when she was actually just a regular teacher. Not impressive.
okay? What I see here with this board and how you guys act and how everybody's act is no different than when Kelly first came in, because she drove out a lot of other educators to other places. I gave it a year here, I came here a year, I let my son stay out here a year, and I was not impressed. He hated it. So I moved him. I moved him and he's very happy being away from here, and I can see why. Because my personal opinion is that it goes by what the parents show, and what we do here reflects what goes on in the school. And so if this division is going on here, I wonder what division goes on in the school and what our kids have to deal with every day. With that being said, I just want you guys to know that when my son had that email or text or whatever crap that was with the girl, there was a learning experience and a learning moment. My son didn't have a clue about what was being said. 13 years old, 12 years old. How many people know about rape and sex at 12? If you do, really? Not all. Not all, trust me. If you do think that, then you got a problem. Because I've been dealing with that stuff for a long time. I know
Well, they better know at that age.
Well, maybe, maybe not. If they do, then that would be a problem too, right?
No.
Yeah,
They'll
well,
be protecting your daughters.
okay, well, maybe so. But let's just say that I know that you ain't got to protect it from my son. But yet, we have people who are talking smack about a minor, which ain't even true. It's a lie. And if it was true, why wasn't there any type of criminal, investigation done? Why? Because there wasn't anything. But we're going to talk about it because it's easy to push on somebody, especially my wife, about it. Because she supports the school board. And that's all fine. My wife is a nice one, just keep that in mind. This here is just a travesty. I just can't believe it. And I'm glad that I left. I'm glad that I got my son out of here because of this. This type of crap. I still live in this community and I see you all. You can talk all your smack.
John.
But the reality is this school board here is here. And they're going to try to push things in the right direction. I wasn't impressed and I haven't been impressed with learning-based, project-based learning. They have it in colleges. They use it as part of the enhancement. It doesn't start as their central control of anything. And I've been in school in the last decade, 10 years. I got a degree in nursing. Trust me, you will all, and all your kids will be reading, writing, and doing everything, and there ain't going to be very little projects that they're going to be doing. Very little.
Oh my God.
But anyways, just saying. I just want you to know that my son is a very good boy.
I think he is.
Yeah, thank you. Then quit talking smack about him.
I didn't say anything about
Okay.
him.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Enough.
I'm Jennifer Landstrom. I'm going to clarify that. His son did apologize to my daughter for the very, very inappropriate text that he sent my daughter. I am appreciative of the parents for making him apologize to me and my daughter for that. What I am most upset about is that his wife, who is a good woman, went online and said that all people needed to know about the situation was to take one look at my daughter and know that she wasn't pretty enough for any boy to rape. So, there, that's on the record.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I apologize for that.
My name is Melanie Hicks. I am a parent. We are School of Choice. We came here 6 years ago. We interviewed Kelly Coffin and other superintendents in the area to come to Tecumseh. And Tecumseh was the school that we wanted to be at. I want to preface what I'm saying to you. I am a nursing professor, and I have a master's degree and a couple months away from a doctorate degree. And all of our college is all project-based learning, hands-on, and kids coming to us are not prepared. And I'm not up here to decide and fight with you guys about project-based learning or what you're trying to do with the curriculum. I'm here to support our teachers and our teachers and our administrators. This is sickening, and I don't really even care what's going on in your heads or anybody out here, but you guys are getting rid of some of the very valuable people that we have in this district. And everybody has said that you guys don't have any educational background. You need to go where your positives are, and those are your positives. I am scared to death. My children, I have a second grader and I have a fourth grader, and they're good kids, okay? Most parents will say that, okay? I get that. But I have good kids, and my kids will go wherever they can go. I want what's best, and that's what we all want here. I don't care what side of the fence you are. You guys have to listen to your educators. This is not an educator. I'm sorry, Ryan, you're very qualified for business, and maybe you're a nice man, but this is not what our district needs. And it's time for you guys to listen to us. I am begging for you guys to listen to us. This school, you guys don't have, all of you don't have kids in the school, but it's gonna end up being just your kids, Tim. Just your kids, Rebecca. I'm sorry, this is where it's going. And I wanna support you guys, I do. I don't agree with everything, but I'm a professional, and I can agree to disagree, and that's okay. We need to move forward. But anymore, we need to think about our kids, and you guys aren't. Because that is what you guys just did. Think about it, please.
I'll be brief. Roger Curtis. Just, I'll say Tim. I tried. So, to all the teachers and administrators, educators, I think that it's not just Tecumseh. I think the state, Michigan, the United States, really underappreciates and devalues what you do. And I'm really sorry. I just want to tell you I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is a source of strength for my son. There have been many times we have gone to Coach Lou when we needed somebody to talk to. Your decisions have a direct trickle-down effect to my son. I don't know how this will affect him. We have other sources of strength, but when it comes to male role models in that school, Coach Lou is the man that my boy would go to. So if you think these are just staffing issues, no, this affects my children directly. I'm going to have to explain to my son, how in the world did Carl Lewandowski get fired? He is a role model, and there are not as many male role models as we have female role models in these schools. Think before you make these sorts of decisions, because it is more than just staffing, it is my children.
I have to say, I am a little disappointed in the school board for firing Mr. Lewandowski. I've known him a long time. He's been a good man, good teacher. I'm not sure where he stood when it come to Kelly Coffin, but I'm quite sure that overall, he's always 100% for our kids, no matter who their boss is, his boss is. So that might be something you might want to reconsider.
Yes.
My name is Darren Lagore. I'm an educator of over 27 years. I work in the neighboring district, both of my kids, my wife is a current educator of 23 years. I also want to explain, and concur that Mr. Liu is a pillar in this community and has been for a very long time. The educators in this district have given and given. They dedicate their lives. And I'm very saddened, I'm very disturbed by what's been going on that I'm compelled to speak out. When teachers are told that if they speak out, that there will be consequences. When they're told that if they speak out, there will be severe consequences. When they're told with a finger in their face, look at me in the eye when I speak to you, this is very disturbing. Very disturbing. And I hope that this board takes these allegations very seriously. You hear this is a pattern of behavior, okay? It's not one or two, it's pattern after pattern after pattern after pattern. That should speak volumes. And I know these teachers, administrators, they deeply, deeply care about this district. They put their heart and soul, sweat and tears every day into what they do. They're the experts. Listen to them. They should have a voice. They should not be silenced. Give them a voice. Don't threaten them. Don't intimidate them. Don't silence them. Because that's the strength of this district. And if you think losing kids is the biggest fear, wait until a mass exodus of teachers.
Maybe not working on your computer while people are bearing their hearts and talking. No, you stop. You're part of the problem.
Lisa,
but if you could have your
address the board, please. Lisa, address the board, please.
If you could ask your superintendent to face the audience and look, make eye contact to the people that he's responsible to, the teachers and the parents and the taxpayers, that would be great.
Hi, my name is Julie Cassie. I'm an educator here in the district. I grew up here. This is my hometown. We moved back with my family with the intention of raising our children here. It scares me what's going on at this point in the community, and I keep wanting to believe that, you know, we can trust and that things are going to get better. And time again, though, things are showing up where it makes us very hesitant to trust. In all honesty, when meetings get scheduled, at times when teachers cannot be present, that's hard for us because, you know, meetings, I understand you have to schedule special meetings sometimes, but when they get scheduled on nights of conferences or during a school day, those really kind of create a little bit of a lack of trust, and many of us want to be able to trust. Then when you go and you let go of certain individuals who we've worked for, who we greatly respect, who have supported us. I've had the privilege of working for at least 3 of those administrators who stood up. And each one of those administrators has shown compassion, professionalism. They are truly focused on the learners. And it just makes me extremely sad to see a time when we can let an administrator go just like that. It makes me very concerned. I know that you've all said, you know, you want to hear from us. So I'm kind of extending that, like, if you want to be able to hear from us, though, we have to be able to feel safe to be able to talk to you. and letting go of people who we greatly respect and putting them in that kind of a position really makes it difficult. So we want to be able to talk with you, we want to be able to work with you, but we also want to feel safe and supported. And those administrators, they've stood by us through everything. So I really feel like we need to be thinking about this before. Just sincerely, I would like for things to be able to get better, but we have to be able to feel safe. And this is not a way of helping that.
Hello, my name is Joey Chase, and I'm on the 4th grade team here at Compass. I'm not a professional strategist, but I do play a lot of cards, so I think about things. And your game plan right now is very scary. If I were in your shoes, when you took over, you knew you had a delicate situation. You should try to win the respect, win the trust of people. And if it were me, I'd say, okay, at this meeting, did I take one step further to heal this community? At the next meeting, did I take one step further to heal this community? And I don't think we're taking those steps forward right now. We need to have things in place that are going to help us heal. Okay? How can we actually bring people together? We're losing kids. That's an issue. What programs do we have in place to regain kids? We don't have any. It's not going to magically happen when we're doing these things every day. We need to have a thing in place. Do we need to have open houses at our STEAM centers? And do we need to go knock on doors of kids that have left and said, hey, here are some people that really love Tecumseh. Let's try to get you back. So I'd really like to see some policies in place that are intentional from you guys, that how are we going to heal and how are we going to bring kids back. Thank you.
That's wild. I'll keep this brief. I've spent the majority of this meeting sitting here in tears because it is probably, in the 20 years that I've worked in this school district, the saddest day I've ever witnessed. It's also one of the proudest. I couldn't be prouder of that group of staff that stood here and talked to you, and in spite of every one of you sitting there, they will show up tomorrow and do what they do every day. And thank you.
My name is Greg Wilson. I teach in the high school. I'm the head football coach. This is A.J. Mary. He's the wrestling coach here at the high school. What I wanted to point out tonight, what I found profound is what we saw tonight was what leadership looks like from our admin team. I think what leadership really is the ability to take opinions, reflect on those opinions, and then use them to your best of your ability. I don't know how, as a leadership team, if we surround ourselves with a bunch of yes men and do exactly what I tell you to do, that we grow as a leadership team. I'm speaking from experience. I can tell you right now, the last thing I want to do is surround myself with a bunch of yes men. And I fear right now that's what we're looking for. We have people in place right now that are highly qualified, highly educated, and have dedicated their lives to ensuring that kids get what they need. And when they challenge a boss, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I think it's prudent for the boss to be able to take that input and then use it to make the best decision they can possibly have. So I commend the leadership team tonight for standing up for us as teachers. And I also want to say, personally, there's been a lot of surveys that go out. I commend you guys on that, committees that are being formed as well. I think the one voice right now that needs to be heard, and I hear this in town over and over again about the teachers are the most important part of this district. It seems as if our voice is lost in this. And so what I would encourage you to do is allow us to communicate through a piece of data or something to allow you to understand where we are coming from as well. And maybe that's through the survey. And if that's the case, then thank you for that opportunity. But I just want to point out thank you to the administrators for bringing their opinions to the table and not being afraid to just become a yes man.
How you doing? As Greg said, I'm A.J. Mary, head wrestling coach, head golf coach, teacher. I was a class advisor. I'm a friend. I'm a dad. I'm a son. I'm a husband. I'm a lot of things. And I'm going to be honest, because that's another thing that I am. I came to school today, you know, and I enjoy the people that I work with. I enjoy the people that I work for. Jacob, Griff, Melanie, Deidre, Megan, anyone else, Carl, all the people I teach with, Paula, Michelle, my whole freshman team, Crystalyn, Joel, the whole high school. And it's tough because I come to work every day for them because they come to work every day for me because we're a team. And right now what's happening, and if we're going to talk athletics, we're driving our team apart. Bad and fast. As a coach, here's my job, is to get those young men or young ladies to believe in themselves and believe in what's going on and believe in the system. And right now, our coach or coaches have failed to do that. Right now, we don't believe. And that's a problem. But I'm going to tell you one thing. I do believe in the people that came up here at the beginning of the day, Melanie, Jacob, Deidre, Megan, Carl, and I believe in Greg, and I believe in everybody else that stands behind me and teaches with me. And we can do this, but you guys have to start listening. And one thing I want you to listen to is things that have went on haven't gone due process. There needs to be a due process. We can't just amend things. We have to go about it the right way. We tell kids to be honest. We tell kids to do the right thing. We tell kids to believe. Well, if we're not believing in what's going on, then how can I make someone believe? You guys got to figure it out. And we got to figure it out fast. And I'll be part of it, and so will he. But we can't just sit there and get rid of anybody we don't like.
Right.
I still believe in Tecumseh, and I still believe in what we can do here. But you guys got to believe it. And if I got to talk you into it, I will. But stuff's got to change fast. There's been a lot of things. It's scary, just like everybody said. This is scary, man. And it is about the kids, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's about all of us, too. We all got families as well. Wives, husbands, daughters, sisters, mothers, everything. I get it. You got kids. So do I. I got friends who got kids. I got coworkers who got kids. We're all on board, man. We're all on board. But we got to put in the policies. We got to do things the right way. I'm asking you, please. Let's figure this out. Believe in us. Believe in what we have. We don't need to get rid of everything. We can compromise. But you got to be willing to compromise. And you got to believe in us. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I believe in him. I believe in him. I believe in her. In her. In her back there. You got to make a choice to believe in him. Because I made the choice. And I'm going to still believe in him. And I'm going to keep going until the day you guys get rid of me.
We're going to move on to the superintendent's report update.
So to the school board, just a brief update in terms of what we've found for student misconduct. I won't go into the details of the individual cases, obviously, but we've essentially determined is that we need to review our code of conduct. And we also need to make sure that we're looking at restorative practices that are placed inside of that code of conduct as well. So I've asked Michelle Hutchinson to help us to begin to reframe that entire code of conduct for us, and she'll be one of the leads for that. I expect that to take several weeks for that to be done, and I'll come back with a proposal in terms of what we think it should look like. So I think the most important thing is the restorative practices portion. Michelle did a really good job of talking to me about what should be in there, how that should be addressed. I've also had feedback from many parents as well that they want to ensure that the restorative practices are also included. So I think that that's fairly essential. I mean, that's a mandatory thing for us at this point in time. So in terms of student misconduct, that's essentially all we'll really say at this point in time. Yes, we did find several cases. I mean, you even saw a parent that spoke here several board meetings ago that discussed the situation. So it's not that it doesn't happen. It does happen, and we do need to address it. The question is how do we address that? So one of those things will be through restorative practices. So any questions in terms of the student misconduct? So essentially one of the action items will be to update the student code of conduct. And we'll present that in a future board meeting. Do you want me to go on to the next topic? Yeah. Okay, so in terms of volunteers, there's been several questions in terms of how volunteers are vetted inside of TPS. Volunteers are actually, they're fingerprinted, they're checked in terms of that background. One of the core issues that I see in terms of volunteers is that we need to look at proper placement, where are volunteers going when they come into the schools, how are they being dealt with, how do they check in, how do they check out, and what topics that they're working on. So one of the things that I'd like to do internally with the staff is to work on what is a better way in order to handle volunteers. And that's really the onboarding process as well. I think we need to also understand when a volunteer comes in, what are their capabilities, what are their specialties, what are they able to actually do at that point in time, and then make sure that we can push them into the right area in terms of being able to support or help our teachers. I think that's a key component. I've spoken with many teachers who are very happy with the volunteers that come in. So parents work tirelessly. They take time out of their day. They walk in and their goal is, okay, how can I help this teacher and what are the things that I can do? So from that standpoint, I think we need to focus on how can we better onboard our volunteers, how can we ensure that we have a good vetting process, and then basically work from there. So that's something that we'll work on internally as a procedure in terms of our volunteers and update that. And that's something I'll come back in terms of a board meeting and present that to the Board of Education. Any questions? No. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we need to do a background check, or we need to do fingerprinting in terms of it's the same process. Like if we have a coach that's working with our students, we just need to make sure that we properly vet people. That's all. And I just want to review that. Okay. That's it, sir. Okay.
And then, did you want to? We need to talk about non-renewals, or?
We can talk about non-renewal and assignment at this point in time. I have that for you. So, just a moment. This is actually a document that needs to be read at this point in time. Whereas, you need the microphone. So just before we start that process, so from the superintendent's position, there's two things. One, Stacy Bailey, we've asked her to step into the role of helping us with that transition in terms of moving from A to B, whatever B looks like from a project standpoint. So we know that we're going to come to the end of April and we're going to have some type of configuration, whatever that is, in terms of building configuration, curriculum, so on and so forth. And we've asked Ms. Bailey to step into that role to help us with that transition from A to B as the director of that. She remained in her position through the remainder of the year, but as this work picks up, over the summer and then into the next year, that transition would occur. So effectively July 1st. So thank you for taking that role. That's a huge impact for us because we're missing people that really have that strong skill set. So she's very detailed orientated and she has the ability to, I believe, drive that process. In terms of non-renewal, so I'm actually making the recommendation for non-renewal of one of our administrators, that is Carl Lewandowski. With that being stated, I'm bringing that to the school board. That does not mean that necessarily that he's terminated. What that means is I'm just recommending that the contract is placed for non-renewal. There is a process for that. There is a process for that. So, and that leads back to the document that I've provided to the school board.
Does he have the opportunity to do a decision?
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear.
That's what I'm saying.
Speak up.
Public meeting.
I'm trying to protect someone's privacy.
It's a little late. How big of you?
Please share it, I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Carl.
Whereas Carl Lewandowski is employed as the Compass Early Learning Center 2 to 3 principal with the Tecumseh Public Schools pursuant to a contract of employment for the term of 1 year, which contract shall expire and terminate on June 30th, 2019, and the interim superintendent of schools, Ryan Patrick Rhodes, has presented the Board of Education with a written recommendation dated March 25th, 2019, that it consider non-renewal of the contract of employment of Carl Lewandowski as an administrator for the Tecumseh Public Schools, and the Board of Education, after review and consideration of the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, has determined that there is sufficient reason to consider non-renewal of Carl Lewandowski's contract of employment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of Tecumseh Public Schools determines that there is a sufficient reason to consider non-renewal of the contract of employment of Carl Lewandowski as an administrator for the Tecumseh Public Schools. The Board of Education authorizes and directs the superintendent of schools to provide Carl Lewandowski with written notice of this resolution, stating that the Board of Education is considering non-renewal for his employment contract at the Compass Early Learning Center 2 to 3 principal for the Tecumseh Public Schools, together with a written statement of the reasons the Board of Education is considering non-renewal. The interim superintendent of schools is further directed to notify Carl Lewandowski that he shall be given the opportunity to meet with not less than a majority of the Board of Education to discuss the reasons in an open or closed session. The interim superintendent of schools is hereby authorized to establish the date, time, and place of the meeting to discuss the reasons set forth in the written statement. The reasons for consideration of non-renewal of the administrative contract of Carl Lewandowski is based upon the TPS Board of Education and the superintendent have lost confidence in your leadership concerning the district's curriculum and are moving the district in a different educational direction. Further, the model of competency-based education that you promoted and implemented contradicts with the district's direction. Said reasons being hereby incorporated by reference and adopted by the Board of Education as its own reasons for considering the non-renewal of Carl Lewandowski. All resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and the same are hereby rescinded.
So they don't agree with you, you're gone.
Boo. You have confidence in Rhodes, not Carl Lewandowski.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
That's priceless.
Wow. That's a lot of wow.
Good job, Ryan. Huh? I think you all need to table this.
We discuss it tonight?
We can't discuss it in closed session.
No, but we discuss it tonight. We don't vote tonight, right? Discuss it tonight, vote in 2 weeks.
Maybe get the rules before you fire someone.
They're doing so good on that.
Can't hear you again. It's people's livelihoods you're playing with here.
60%, you hear what you say.
I'd like to see more information before we vote on it.
There's an idea.
That has to be
with him in a closed session, or whether that is presented here, either way. I prefer it being a closed session if he would prefer it also. I don't think it's public business, but I would like more information.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to meet with him.
I thought we didn't know what direction we were going in.
All right. Board member discussion or comments?
President Simpson.
Come on, Griff. Step
I
up.
want to tender my resignation as the assistant. I don't do that to be disrespectful. That's not who I am. I didn't sign up for all the drama, to be honest with you. When you asked me, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Yeah, you did,
I'm really
you
not.
guys.
No, we did.
Yeah, you did.
I-
You started it.
Again, board, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just don't feel I'm serving you guys or serving our district the way that I need to do that. I really
You're serving us, Griff.
I really would like to focus on just being the high school principal.
Okay,
and
I understand.
I'm not afraid of retaliation. My faith is the most important thing to me. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I'll help from the capacity of high school principal any way I can. So thank you.
Good job, Griff.
Okay, we're going to adjourn to closed session pursuant to PA 267 and 1976, Section 8, subsection H, to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute, attorney-client privilege information.
So moved.
Support. You guys gotta be louder. I can't even hear what's going on over here.
Oh, geez. Think about the back of the room.
Abbott.
Aye.
Brooks. Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Resign. You're right there.
So I need to go.
Just sit in the back. No one fucking cares.
No, I'm just saying I'm not going to wear it here in the front.
Yeah, that's fine.
But he's to do the. I just started.
It's dark in here. I don't care what anybody says. Just
Okay, we're returning back from closed session at 9:57. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Suzanne motion, I second.
Abbott.
Aye.
Brooks. Johnson.
Aye.
McNamara. Moore.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We're adjourned.